You're listening to All of It on WNYC. I'm Allison Stewart. A new documentary about New York Governor Mario Cuomo premiered earlier this year at the Tribeca Film Festival. The movie is titled Mario and sets the political leader's rise, governorship, and national popularity against the context of Ronald Reagan's administration, including Cuomo's famous speech at the 1984 Democratic Convention addressing Reagan directly.
There is despair, Mr. President, in the faces that you don't see, in the places that you don't visit, in your shining city.
The film was directed by Peter, George, and Teddy Kunhardt, and it'll be available to stream on lifestories.org on October 26th. George kicked off the conversation by explaining why a film about Mario Cuomo actually begins with another politician, Ronald Reagan.
Well, we wanted to start the film by having a context of today. And so when you hear Make America Great Again by Ronald Reagan, it immediately sinks it into where we are today. And when you have John Meacham make the parallel to wanting to study someone like Mario Cuomo the same way you should understand and remember Hamilton, it really puts him on a new level of not just in the New York zeitgeist, but also on the national level, which was important for us. George
Meacham says that Mario Cuomo came from the tradition of Roosevelt and the New Deal because he grew up with that. How did his family benefit from New Deal policies?
Yeah, so when FDR passed the New Deal in the 30s, Mario Cuomo's parents both came from Italy. They didn't speak English. Mario didn't even speak English until he was 8 years old. And the whole point of the New Deal was to set up a government safety net that allowed everyone to prosper, especially those that were in such need at the time. And Mario's parents were beneficiaries of this policy. That stayed with Mario for his whole life. He believed that government, if done well, can help. And that's a very important part that we wanted to explore, because that without that policy in place by FDR, I don't think Mario would have been who he was today.
Teddy, how did Cuomo's Italian identity shape his politics?
It shaped his whole life, not just his politics.
Yeah.
We believe he suffered from immigrant trauma. We don't necessarily talk about that directly, but indirectly in the film. He was always considered in his less than, whether it was not being able to get a law firm job, whether it was never being taken seriously with an Italian last name. Mm-hmm. It really defined his character, and he never forgot his roots.
Yeah, I didn't know that he didn't speak English until he was 8 years old.
Isn't that amazing?
That is amazing. How do you think his being Italian-American, shaped his identity and shaped who he was?
Well, I actually think it also identified the significance of family for him. The Italian family experience for him it's all about being around the kitchen table. It's all about being home, having a home-cooked meal. We have a scene in the film where after he gives his amazing keynote speech, he doesn't stay around and take the accolades and be with everyone. He took a red eye, flew home, and he wanted to be back in New York with his family. So his whole world was surrounded by his culture and where he came from.
Teddy, at the core of the documentary are these diaries that Cuomo kept. When and where were these diaries from?
He kept diaries throughout his whole political life, and to us, they were the big unlock. Mm-hmm. They allowed us to see the man behind the politician, the man behind the lawyer. We were able to see the internal struggles that he was going through, how it was being a father, how it was being a son. It really allowed us to humanize him and understand him, both sides of him. So without the diaries, I don't think we would have been able to get to the depth that we were able to get to in the film.
Yeah, Chris Cuomo describes him as staying up all night at his desk, just writing.
Yeah, he was, and we have some amazing footage that we found with access from the Cuomo family after building so much trust between us and their family. They unlocked all the personal photos, home movies, things of that nature, and allowed us to use the diaries, obviously. And we found a VHS of Mario sitting behind a desk, and the camera pans behind, and you see him writing in the diary. It's the only footage that we found of that. And you really see he's up at 3 in the morning writing, reflecting. He really put in the hours more than anyone I've ever seen.
George and I are of a younger generation where we weren't familiar with Mario. He was not a household name. We saw the Tappan Zee Bridge become the Mario Cuomo Bridge, but other than that, we weren't very aware of him. We were well aware of Andrew Cuomo and Chris Cuomo, but we were not very aware of Mario until we did a film on President Obama, and David Axelrod said, in order to understand Obama's 04 speech, you have to go back to Mario's 84 speech.
See, I remember him because I'm old. And it's why I wanted to go to the Georgetown School of Foreign Service. I ended up going to Brown, but I thought like I was going to be the governor of New Jersey when I was 17 years old because of Mario Cuomo. Some politicians like him, not his party, whomever, but just their belief in service is what I really believed in as well. And I was like, that's what politicians used to believe in.
Well, you used the word earlier, moral. He lived by a code of moral leadership, a moral compass. And in all of our films, we try and find that as the centerpiece of all the people that we do what we like to call a character study on. We've done, as Teddy mentioned, President Obama. We've done Gloria Steinem. We just did a film on Katharine Graham. All walks of life, Brian Stevenson, different people of different groups of different backgrounds of their profession to where they live to what they fight for, but they all have a moral guiding compass, and that's what really drew us. Besides just his beautiful speech and the way he governed, he stood for the right reasons and stood up for the people that needed it.
This text says, I wanted Mario Cuomo to run for president. I never understood why he didn't. And you get into this in the documentary. Will you share a little bit?
I wasn't surprised he didn't run for president. He didn't want it. He didn't want to put his family through the campaign of running for president. It just wasn't in his DNA. He loved the law, and what surprised us more was why he didn't accept the Supreme Court nomination. Mm-hmm. Every son or daughter wants to please their parents, and Mario's mother wanted him to be a judge. That was the holy grail. And here he had the ability to take the highest judge seat in this country, and he didn't. And again, I think what George mentioned about family, I think it all goes back to family. He wanted to be with his family. He didn't want to live in D.C., but we're still unsure of that.
George, how would Mario Cuomo identify himself on the political spectrum? To the left, to the center, or did he not think that way?
No, there's actually a great podcast story that we followed before doing this called The Last Liberal. And that's how we think of Mario and how he would have seen himself. He was he believed in liberal values. He believed that the government can help, and he believed in policies and governance that benefit everyone versus just himself. And so he was a pretty firm believer in this.
We have an interesting text, and I would be interesting what you think about it. It says, I'm concerned this doc is a love fest for Mario Cuomo, who used to be a hero of mine until I learned about some bullying behavior by him, along with some homophobia and some antagonistic behavior towards his rival. Does the film address any of this?
So we dive into, it's definitely not a love fest or hagiography or anything. We take a we're independent documentary journalists. We're very respectful of the process that we do. We have a large team. It took us 2 years to make this film, and in all of our research and all of our storytelling, we dive into warts and all. I mean, there are things where he was a bully with the press. There was a whole scene about how he would show his frustration and his anger could come out. The journalist Peg Breen talks about how he was probably the smartest person in the room, and he believed it, and he probably was also the smartest person in the room. But
he made sure everyone in the room knew that he was the smartest person.
So there's definitely, it is not just a love fest by any means, but we respect him, and we respect his moral code, and that's what we wanted to shine a light on.
Cuomo was a Catholic. He separated his personal beliefs from his political beliefs when it came to abortion. How did Mario Cuomo walk the line between the personal and the political? What do you say, Teddy?
He was respectful of personal and political, but he wasn't going to jeopardize how he felt about his own life and the life, his moral. Again, sorry, I'm stumbling here.
That's okay.
Go ahead, George.
Well, I was going to say what we explore in the film is that he believed in a woman's right to choose. And he believed that even though that's completely the opposite of what is a belief of the Catholic Church, he did not want to waver. And he spoke at Notre Dame. He gave this one of the most profound speeches we had ever heard, honestly. But even on some level, more of an amazing speech than his 84 DNC speech. And the result was he was excommunicated. And this was the hardest thing in his life, was not being able to take communion and be welcome in the church afterwards. But he had a guiding light, and he stuck with it. And so to us, it shows that if there's something he believes in, even if there's a higher calling that he's not supposed to, he still sticks with it. And that's what we explored.
In the film, he ran for a fourth term in 1994. He was defeated by George Pataki. He had a low favorability rating heading into that election, Teddy. What happened in Cuomo's final term that he lost?
First, he would say the budget. The budget was out of control. He couldn't get a hold of it. It wasn't resolved. He didn't want to leave New York, possibly to run for president and leave New York in this state. And I just think he was tired.
He was sort of done a little bit?
He was sort of done. And I'm not sure he should have run.
Yeah, he was ready to be a teacher. He was ready to do that last phase of life of being grandpa and being with his family. So it seemed like that it kind of run its course, and it was the right time to, for him, unfortunately, lose, and the new wave came in. But he enjoyed the last phase of his life.
And the last phase of his life did not agree to being on the Supreme Court, although Bill Clinton wanted to nominate him, yes?
Pretty amazing, isn't it? You would think that would have been a definite.
So what did he do in his final years?
He was grandpa first and foremost. He loved his grandkids. He got many, many, many granddaughters, and then finally he got a grandson named Mario. He taught the law. He did the speaking tour, and he just enjoyed watching his family.
That was my conversation with directors George and Teddy Kunhardt about their new documentary, Mario, about the life and career of New York Governor Mario Cuomo.